Welcome to our Ask the Expert video series. I'm Colleen Miller. I'm the director of the Disability Law Center of Virginia. The Disability Law Center of Virginia is the Commonwealth's designated protection and advocacy system. We're here to promote and protect the rights of people with disabilities throughout the Commonwealth. One of the ways that we do that is through education and outreach about disability rights issues. So this is your chance to ask the expert. Let's ask the expert. Can I keep my benefits if I go back to work?
Hello everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're here today to talk about work incentives for people with disabilities. Now, it's been 25 years since the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and yet according to the Department of Labor, less than 20% of people in 2014 who were disabled were employed. Now, how do we fix that problem?
Some of us can't work. That's why we get benefits from Social Security.
And that's a good point, and that does account for part of that percentage. What I was really talking about.
Yes, but the Social Security Administration offers work incentives that can help you keep your benefits while you return to work. A work incentive is something that encourages you to try working while receiving your benefit. These work incentives apply to people receiving Social Security Disability, or SSDI, or people receiving Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. Now, people who get SSDI have paid into the system by working. People who get SSI haven't paid into the system or perhaps haven't paid enough. Some of the work incentives apply to both SSDI and SSI, but some apply to only one or the other.
It's also complicated. I'm afraid if I make one mistake, I'll lose everything, including my health insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's what we're here to talk about in today's meeting. Elizabeth, you are our resident expert on work incentives. Could we talk about them now?
Sure. It can be complicated unless you know how they work.
The Social Security Administration is trying to push us back into the workforce so they don't have to pay us anymore.
Well, not really. They're called work incentives because they want to encourage you to go back to work. There's nothing wrong with using them. They're just there as a resource in case you need them. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of benefits to using employment and work incentives safely.
Exactly. So let's start with SSDI. Let's say you want to give work a try. If you receive SSDI, you can do so without penalty through a trial work period. With the trial work period, you have 9 months to test your ability to work. During this time, you get your full benefits each month, no matter how much money you're earning. You can find more information on trial work periods at www.socialsecurity.gov/OACT/TWP/HTML.
Why 9 months? What if I can only work, say, 6 out of the 9 months?
The 9 months are not consecutive. So if something happens for a few months and you want to, say, stop working, or you can't work, or you want to try something new, those months you are not working don't count. It could take you 1 or 2 years or more to complete your trial work period.
So what happens at the end of the 9 months?
At the end of the 9 months, you go into what's called an extended period of eligibility, and this occurs for 36 months. This means that if any time during that 36 months your wages drop below a threshold, which we call the substantial gainful activity level, you still get your benefits.
I think I get it. And what after the 36 months?
At the end of the 36 months, if you are still earning below the threshold, then you will continue to receive your benefits until you work a month above the threshold, and then your payments end. This is a very tricky time. It's important to remain in touch with Social Security and stay on top of things.
You mentioned gainful something. What does that mean?
Substantial gainful activity, or SGA, refers to a person's monthly earnings from paid work. We'll call it SGA from now on. If your income rises above SGA, you may lose your benefits if you are not using a work incentive. For current SGA levels, visit this website, www.socialsecurity.gov/OACT COLA/SGA.HTML.
And if you lose your job after these periods, do you have to apply again? That's a process I've already been through once. That is not a nightmare I want to repeat.
There is a safety net for that. It's called expedited reinstatement. If you stop receiving benefits due to earning wages over SGA, and then later stop working due to your disability, Social Security may be able to reinstate your benefits. This period lasts for 5 years. Social Security will restart your cash benefits temporarily for 6 months while they conduct a medical review to decide if they can reinstate your benefit.
I have a question that I wrote down, but what about health care insurance? People with disabilities often have ongoing health care needs. Getting Medicare and Medicaid isn't incentive enough for getting and staying on disability, even if it's possible to work.
If you stop receiving disability payments because of work, your Medicare coverage with SSDI can continue for at least 93 months after your trial work period ends.
Well, that's all well and good for recipients of SSDI, I suppose. The Social Security Administration views SSI recipients as people that are incapable of working.
Not at all. SSI just works in a different way. So let's say you have SSI and you start working. Social Security assumes that your disability continues even if you are working. Therefore, you can continue to receive your SSI payments and Medicaid. They will recalculate your payments each month you work, depending on how much money you make. So basically, after some special deductions, for every $2 you make, you lose $1 of your SSI benefit. For example, if you are earning $100 a month, you will lose $50 of your SSI, but you're still ahead. For more information about how SSI is calculated, visit this website, www.SSI/text-income-USSI.HTM.
Do you have to sign up for some kind of work incentive scheme for this?
No, this happens automatically as long as you report your income to Social Security. If at some point you become ineligible for SSI payments because your earnings become too high, and then lose your job because of your disability, you become eligible for the expedited reinstatement of benefits, just as with SSDI. Again, this lasts for 5 years from the date your benefits ended due to work.
So you can keep your Medicaid coverage when your cash benefits end?
Yes, you can. After you return to work, your Medicaid coverage can continue, even if your earnings or other income that you have become too high to receive an SSI cash benefit. You still need to meet the disability requirements as well as the resource test. And there are some other rules that apply as well, so we encourage you to contact Social Security or review the following information about continued Medicaid coverage here. www.socialsecurity.gov/SSI/spotlights/Medicaid.htm.
So is it possible for you to make too much money and lose your Medicaid benefits? I mean, Medicaid provides so much support that many private insurers don't.
Yes. Each state has a threshold of what's considered too much money. However, there are ways you can reduce the amount of earnings that are counted. For example, you can factor in what are called work impairment related expenses or blind work expenses. These are things that you pay out of pocket but need in order to work because of your disability. Examples of this are training and maintaining a service animal, counseling services, or transportation. You can also factor in personal attendant care and the cost of medication. This work incentive, fortunately, applies to both SSDI and SSI. For more about impairment-related work expenses, you may go here. www.socialsecurity.gov/SSI/spotlights/work-expenses.htm.
My sister has bipolar disorder, which makes it very difficult for her to work, and SSI is important for her to survive.
Working is possible for many people with disabilities as long as they have the right supports.
That's right. The laws governing disability benefits eligibility, they focused on disability or impairment as the barrier to work. But the reality is, the disability or the impairment often aren't the barrier. The problem is that there's a lack of supports for people to be successful on the job.
Exactly, and that's why the Social Security Administration developed the Ticket to Work program. People who receive SSDI or SSI receive a ticket that they can trade in for vocational rehabilitation services. Vocational rehabilitation services can offer support and training to people with disabilities who are trying to work.
Yeah, I received mine in the mail, but there are plenty of people out there who are receiving Social Security benefits that are eligible for other support benefits that help them with food and housing, that if they work, they lose those benefits.
It's very true. The percentage of people with disabilities who live under the poverty line is more than twice that of people without disabilities. The reality is people with disabilities, they need these supports so that they can stay independent and survive.
So consider this. Through the Social Security Administration, you can set up a plan to achieve self-support, also known as PASS, where you can save and set aside money to help you achieve a specific employment goal. This money that you set aside will not count against your eligibility for those supports. Visit this site for more information about PASS. www.socialsecurity.gov/plans-spot-self-support.htm.
What do you mean by employment goal? What kind of things can we use this money for?
So you can use the money that you set aside for education, vocational training, or even starting your own business.
Is this available for both SSI and SSDI recipients?
That's right, and you can think of it as an opportunity. If you think you're not qualified for the type of job you want to do, or you can no longer perform the kind of job that you're qualified for because of your disability, you can begin to use these supports to get training to advance in your current career path or try a new career.
That's right. Or you can use that PASS that we discussed earlier to just start your own business and be your own boss. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2014, employed persons with a disability were more likely to be self-employed than those without a disability.
That makes sense for persons with disabilities. If you're self-employed, you work your own schedule and your own time, and you do not have to rely on a boss for reasonable accommodations.
Are there any work incentives for when we go up for review?
Yes, all Social Security recipients undergo periodically a review called a continuing disability review to see if you have medically improved and still meet the disability criteria. When the review occurs, you may qualify for Section 301 if you are actively participating in vocational rehabilitation with an approved program such as the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, or DARS, or the Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired, DBVI. Section 301 allows you to continue your benefits even if your disability review determines that you no longer meet the criteria for disability. If you stop or complete your vocational program, your benefits will end. This provision applies to both SSDI and SSI recipients.
This is a lot of information to take in. Who can we talk to if we need help with these return to work issues?
It's true, it's a lot to digest, and we can't address every return to work issue here, But there are wonderful resources, and we encourage you to use them. They will help you understand the work incentives and how to use them safely to your advantage. We recommend you contact the Work Incentive Planning Assistance Center near you. These are also known as WIPAs, and you can find them by going to www.vaacces.org/WIPA, W-I-P-A. You can also call their toll-free number 1-877-822-2777, and they should be able to direct you to the closest WIPA specialist in your community. Or if you're obtaining services from DARS or DBVI, they will conduct what's known as a benefits analysis to show you how your work earnings will affect your benefits. You can also read about these work incentives for both SSDI and SSI in this wonderful manual known as the Red Book. And you can do so by contacting Social Security at their website, which is www.ssa.gov/redbook. And on that website, they have this book in audio format, and you can also order your own hard copy. And I think you'll find it very useful as you're learning to return to work. Of course, you are always welcome to contact the Disability Law Center of Virginia for any of your disability-related questions or concerns.
If you would like to discuss your disability rights issue, please call the Disability Law Center of Virginia. Our intake hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8:30 to 4 p.m. You can call us at 1-800-552-3962, or you can email us at info@dlcv.org. Thanks for watching. This video contains general information for educational purposes. This should not be considered legal advice. It is not a comprehensive statement of the law and may not reflect more recent legal developments. If you have specific questions concerning any matter contained in this video, or if you need legal advice, please consult with an attorney.